Ladies and gentlemen, people live in direct relationship to the heroes they have, always and in all ways. The difference between a hero and an idol is an idol asks another human being or other human beings to emulate him or her, and no human being is worthy of emulation. However, heroes encourage you to be more of yourself, and Howard University is a hero to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, people live in direct relationship to the heroes they have, always and in all ways. The difference between a hero and an idol is that an idol asks that another human being or other human beings emulate him or her, and no human being is worthy of emulation. However, heroes encourage you to be more of yourself. And Howard University is a hero to me. I grew up in a town in Arkansas about the size of this row here. And I knew that heaven was Howard and Fisk. I thought it was one place. And I figured that when I died, if I was very, very good, I would get to go to Howard. So it is really meaningful for me to be here, to speak to you here in this physical place, which is where the dreams of so many people have been dreamed and where now they are being realized, we hope. I'm to speak to you about the Black Southerner as an inspiration to Black writers.
Hi, my name is Cleo Ross. I'm a senior history major here at Howard University and a student scholar in the library division of the Moorland-Spingarn Research Center. Welcome into The Stacks, a series where we explore the richness and vastness of the global Black diaspora as archived here at the MSRC, the experiences of students, scholars, and the researchers we seek most to serve. Today we'll be highlighting the phenomenal woman herself, Dr. Maya Angelou. Like many, I knew of Dr. Angelou as a master memoirist, poet, and performer, world-renowned for her best-selling autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and her series of inspiring proverbial poems such as Still I Rise, Masks, and On the Pulse of Morning. Since I began working here last May, the layered genius and principled artistry of Dr. Angelou has continually dazzled me as I explored her holdings in the archive. From the evocative and sensual simplicity of her verses in her picture book with Tom's Feelings, Now Siva Sings the Song, to her endearing recollections of her time in Ghana, beautifully narrated in All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes. Angelou's gifts as a writer and a performer have already been foundational to my experience of Black American letters and arts. But to read about her conference proceedings in the National Black Writers Conference in 1974 and the columns at the Hilltop when she came to speak about Moorland itself, it was engaging to see how she came home to us. It speaks to the quote that we said earlier. Here at Howard, Moorland has the documents. Climb close to that literature, use it, and it will tell you how to stand erect. She also emerged in her powerful international experiences and connections. This is scarcely a side of the diaspora she didn't touch or wasn't touched by. Few realize Angelou was a calypso performer prior to becoming the world-renowned writer, and she traveled extensively across Europe, the Americas, the Caribbean, and Africa. She worked as a journalist and was also a world-renowned actress in a traveling troupe of Porgy and Bess. In 1974, the Institute for the Arts and Humanities here at Howard University hosted the inaugural National Black Writers Conference in collaboration with John Oliver Killens. It was a collection of the most premier African American writers in the country and an attempt to create a long-standing institution that created connections and relationships among them for mentorship, creativity, and free spaces of learning and growing as writers and culture creators.
He begins, the Negro artist in the Racial Mountain says, I want to be a poet. He says, one of the most promising of the young Negro poets said to me once, I want to be a poet, not a Negro poet, meaning I believe. I want to write like a white poet, meaning subconsciously. I would like to be a white poet, meaning behind that, I would like to be white. And I was sorry the young man said that, for no great poet has ever been afraid of being himself. And I doubted then that with his desire to run away spiritually from his race, this boy would ever be a great poet. But this is the mountain standing in the way of any true Negro art in America. This urge within the race toward whiteness, the desire to pour racial individuality into the mold of American standardization and to be as little Negro and as much American as possible. That's a quote of Langston Hughes written in 1926. Much of the early Harlem Renaissance was Black is Beautiful, Black conscious, attention to African heritage. And you can see the replay in the 60s Black arts movement. People like Langston Hughes and Claude McKay were among the most important writers of the Harlem Renaissance, and also the middle writings of that period of W.E.B. Du Bois. And this literature showed the development of a national consciousness that reflects the need first of the people to defend themselves against their oppressors and then to attack them.
A crucial time of crisis, a time of danger and opportunity, a time more than any other time in history when the unity of the black oppressed is an absolute requirement for survival as a people. This being true, it becomes especially important that black writers, who are hopefully the voices of our people, strive to achieve a unity of purpose and perspective amongst themselves. We do not attempt to impose upon our writers a dogmatic, monolithic approach to black writing. Indeed, we must fight for the writer's right to an individual perception of the world about him and the style, technique, and method by which he chooses to express it. We do, however, seek a unity of commitment, and that commitment is to the liberation of mankind, especially the oppressed of African descent, wherever they may find themselves. It is in this spirit that the Institute for the Arts and the Humanities calls together the National Conference of Afro-American Writers. Last year we began auspiciously with the Conference of Poets primarily. This year we continue, but the Institute has broadened its area of involvement. Again, let us come together in the spirit of unity and brotherhood and sisterhood, for we are truly brothers and sisters of the skin and of the soul, as we constantly work toward deserving the very heavy responsibility of articulating and expressing the aspirations and the very souls of black folk.
In 1974, the conference organizers called on the writers to consider the image of Afro-Americans in literature. In her presentation, Dr. Angelou drew on her extensive global experiences to illustrate the power and popularity of Southern Black culture. She spoke on how audiences as culturally far-flung as the Middle East jumped and cheered at her performances of the old church songs that filled her childhood in rural Arkansas. The ability to distill her experiences in performance and use them to connect with communities across all experiences is what fueled her best-selling series of memoirs. In her fifth installment, All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes, that sense of connection takes center stage as she recounts her experiences in Kwame Nkrumah's newly independent Ghana.
Yes, it was the first time I've ever felt at home. It was in Ghana. And curiously enough, the second time in my life I've ever felt at home is in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
In Ghana, Angelou was one in a cadre of Black Americans seeking refuge at the time. Nkrumah had cultivated a gathering place for American intellectuals and leaders to commune, exchange, and connect with one another and their counterparts on the continent. Out of this gathering place sprung Malcolm X's Organization of Afro-American Unity, W.E.B. Du Bois's late career for reflective work, and even Angelou's own literary career, at the urging of her fellow expat, James Baldwin. Though not founded by Black people, Howard University has always been Black-led and has always served as an international gathering place, a space for the entrepreneurial, the bold, and the intellectually voracious among us to gather and develop the institutions that have sustained us in this country and across the diaspora since 1867. In the words of Kwame Ture, it is home to every Black thing and its opposite.